Hey everyone, my name is Olio. I'm 26 years old, and I'm from Brazil. Just 5 months ago, I couldn't speak a single full sentence in English, not even how are you, without thinking too much. I was completely lost. Today, I want to tell you how I learned English in just 5 months, without any expensive classes, without going to an English-speaking country, and without wasting my time on useless methods. But this isn't just my story, this is your story too if you've ever felt frustrated, stuck, or embarrassed because of your English. Keep watching, because I was exactly where you are, and I promise if you listen to my full journey step by step, you'll know exactly how to improve your English. Let's go back to the beginning, because my journey didn't start with motivation. It started with a big failure that changed my life. The moment that changed everything for me. I always wanted to work for an international company. My dream job was to be a software engineer at a big tech company. I loved coding, I was good at it, and I worked day and night to become the best. Finally, after years of hard work, I got my chance. I applied for a huge company in the US. The recruiter emailed me, "Congratulations, you are selected for an interview." I was so excited. I imagined my life in a new country, earning a big salary, working with the best people. But then the interview happened. I remember it like it was yesterday. I opened Zoom, and there were 3 interviewers, all native English speakers. They started speaking, and I felt like someone had pressed fast forward on their voices. I couldn't understand anything. They asked me the first question, "Olio, can you tell us a bit about yourself and your experience in software development?" I panicked. I knew the answer in my head, but the words didn't come out. I said, yes, I am, software. I do coding. Many projects. Good. I am very good. They looked at me. The silence felt like a knife in my stomach. They asked another question, but I couldn't answer that either. In the end, one of them smiled and said, "All right Olio, thank you for your time." I knew what that meant. I had failed. I didn't get the job, not because I wasn't good enough in my field, but because I couldn't speak English. That day, I understood the power of English. It wasn't just a language, it was the key to my dream. And right now, I didn't have that key. I felt ashamed, embarrassed, angry at myself. For years, I told myself, I don't need English, I'll just be good at my job and that'll be enough. But now I saw the truth, without English, I was invisible. That night, I made a decision, I would learn English, and I would learn it fast. Most people, when they start learning English, do one thing first, they pay for expensive courses. But I didn't do that. Why? Because I had already tried them before, and they didn't work. A year ago, I paid for an online English class. The teacher made me memorize vocabulary lists, do grammar exercises, and study boring rules. But after 3 months, when I tried to have a conversation, I still couldn't speak. So I knew that expensive classes were not the answer. If I wanted to learn English fast, I needed something different. I needed a system that worked in real life. And that's when I started my 5-month method, which I will share with you now, step by step. Part 1, the first 15 days. The biggest mistake that beginners make is that they think they need more words. I thought the same. I thought, if I learn 1,000 words, I will speak fluently. But the truth is, I already knew hundreds of words, yet I still couldn't speak. So, for the first 15 days, I didn't study any new words. Instead, I did something much more powerful, I started learning how to use the words I already knew. Here's exactly what I did. I made a survival sentence list. I sat down and thought, what do I actually need to say every day? I wrote 50 simple sentences that I needed in real life. For example, hi, how are you? Can you repeat that? I don't understand, I am learning English, I need a coffee, please. Every morning, I read these 50 sentences out loud. Not once, not twice, 10 times. At first, my tongue felt slow, but after 5 days, these sentences became automatic. I started speaking to myself in English every single day. This is one of the most powerful things I did. Whenever I was alone, I spoke English to myself. For example, when I was in the shower, I said, I am taking a shower. The water is hot. I feel relaxed. When I made breakfast, I said, I am making eggs. I like eggs. They are easy to cook. At first, I felt stupid, but then I realized this was my private classroom. No one could hear me, no one could judge me. And in just 1 week, my brain started thinking in English. I practiced 5 sentences a day, but with a twist. Every day, I chose 5 sentences from movies or real conversations. But I didn't just read them, I copied them exactly. I repeated them 10 times, but with the same emotion, speed, and pronunciation as the native speaker. This helped me fix my accent and sound natural. By the end of the first 15 days, something changed. I stopped translating in my head. I could say basic sentences without thinking. I felt more confident. But this was just the beginning, because after 15 days, I started the real practice. Part 2, the real practice begins. After 15 days of fixing my biggest mistake, I was finally ready to take the next step. I could say basic sentences without thinking, and I felt more confident, but I knew this wasn't enough. I didn't want to just say short sentences, I wanted to have real conversations. I wanted to understand native speakers without translating in my head. I wanted to speak fluently. So I created a new plan. This plan would change everything. If you follow it, you will improve faster than you ever thought possible. I realized something important: when I tried to speak English, my brain was slow. I knew words, but I couldn't put them together quickly. I needed a way to make speaking feel natural. I started using a method that I now call the question-answer method. This method is simple but powerful. Here's how it works. I asked myself a simple question in English. I answered it immediately, without thinking too much. I repeated the process with different answers. For example, I started with an easy question: what did you do today? At first, my answer was short: I worked. But I forced myself to say more: I worked on my project. I worked on my project for 3 hours. I worked on my project for 3 hours, then I took a break. I worked on my project for 3 hours, then I took a break and had some coffee. Every time I answered, I added more details. This trained my brain to think in English and speak without hesitation. Another example: what did you eat for breakfast? First answer: I ate eggs. Then, I ate eggs and toast. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was really hungry. I ate eggs, toast, and a banana because I was really hungry and I love eating a big breakfast. I did this every single day for at least 30 minutes. My speaking speed improved dramatically. My sentences became longer, and I stopped translating in my head. One of my biggest problems was pronunciation. Even when I spoke English, I still sounded like a foreigner. Native speakers understood me, but my accent was strong. So I used the echo technique. This is the best way to improve pronunciation without a teacher. Here's how it works. I listen to a native speaker from movies, YouTube, or podcasts. I paused the audio after each sentence. I repeated the sentence exactly the same way, same speed, same tone, same emotion. For example, I took a short clip from a movie. The character said, "I don't know what you're talking about." I paused and repeated, "I don't know what you're talking about." At first, it felt difficult, but after repeating 10 times, my voice started to sound similar to the native speaker. Another example from a podcast: it was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk. I paused and repeated, "It was a beautiful day, so I decided to go for a walk." I did this every day for 30 minutes. After 1 month, my pronunciation improved so much that even native speakers started saying, "Wow, your English sounds really natural." I knew that vocabulary was important, but I also knew that memorizing word lists doesn't work. So I needed a better method. I used the story method. Here's how it works. I took 5 new words every day. I created a short story using all 5 words. I read the story out loud 10 times. I used the words in my real conversations. Example: new words: excited, invitation, party, arrive, surprise. My story: I was very excited because I received an invitation to a big party. When I arrived at the party, I got a huge surprise. It was my birthday party. I did this every day. After 3 months, I had learned over 1,000 new words without memorizing anything. One of the biggest problems learners have is that they think in their native language first, then translate into English. This makes speaking slow and unnatural. So I trained my brain to think in English. Here's how. I described everything around me in English. Example: when I walked outside, I said in my mind, "The sky is blue. The weather is hot. I see people walking. That man is wearing a red shirt." I asked myself questions and answered in English. Example: what am I doing right now? I am sitting in a chair, drinking coffee, and writing in my notebook. I wrote my daily journal in English. Every night, I wrote about my day in English. At first, I wrote simple sentences, but after 1 month, my writing became more natural. After a few weeks, I noticed something amazing: I was no longer translating. English words came naturally into my mind. One other thing I did was simple but powerful: I made a rule. Every day, I had to speak English for at least 2 hours. No excuses. If I had no one to talk to, I talked to myself. If I didn't have time, I spoke while doing daily activities: cooking, cleaning, walking. If I felt lazy, I reminded myself, English is my future. I cannot quit.